Before I continue with anything, I would like to say this in addendum to, in addition to. Before I continue with any of this, I would like to add to my response to UXW Bill's second question. That was about PHP-related books for development and for beginners. I went to the bookstore twice in the last, what's it been, 2 months since I answered that? Something like that, roughly. And I'll tell you what, it's even more disappointing than I thought it was. Because I found nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. There was an LAMP book, that is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, that I forget the name of because it's been too long. That was the first time I went, and that was back in January, so maybe I will have to post in an annotation or something what the book is, and I'll go back tomorrow, or actually I can't go back tomorrow, I'm working all day, but go back at some point and go look. But really, the selection was pretty disappointing. There was basically that one book and that was it. There's a lot of JavaScript, and there's a lot of Perl, and there's a lot of Apache, and there's a lot of all that stuff. But PHP apparently is not something there's a lot of. I don't know if it's because the cool kids just don't use that anymore, or if it's just because it's a simple language, which I don't think so, but hey, maybe it is simple in the grand scheme of things. Or maybe it's just that people don't care, or the majority of people these days learn that kind of stuff with experimentation like I do. I have no idea. So, unfortunately, I really cannot help with that as much as I would like to, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I would love to be able to say, oh, this book, this book, this book, this book, and give, like, links and all of that. That would be ideal, but unfortunately, we live in a very unideal world, so I can't do that. Maybe you'll find something on your own, but right now, I cannot say that there is anything I can recommend other than the HTML and Easy Steps, which does have a little bit of PHP in it. That much I know, because that's how I first got into PHP in the first place. I have one other on this piece of paper that I know was asked by a person. I know who asked this one. Actually, there's two. There was one that was asked by a coworker at work, and then there was another one that was asked by DJ Dave Thunder over other means. And DJ Dave's question has to do with AMD versus Intel. And in fact, I got a couple of questions over private message, a couple questions on my live stream, and and that question right there about AMD versus Intel. I have a two-word answer to that. And that two-word answer is, it depends. It depends on what you're comfortable with. Mostly depends on what you're comfortable with, but it also depends on what application you're in. I can't remember the exact which one is better for which, but I'm pretty sure that Intel is better single-thread and AMD is better multi-thread, or maybe that's changed now. I know back with the 8350 and whatnot, one of them was better for single-thread and the other one was better for multi-thread. And it's because of the way that the architecture worked. You know, AMD's Bulldozer versus, you know, the other architecture. I have personally owned two laptops that, in fact, two computers total, that didn't have an Intel processor in them. The first of which was a Toshiba Sanolite L300D040 that had an AMD Athlon 64X2. Sorry, it was an Athlon 2X2 or something. Dual-core QL62 processor. And I think you all know what I think of that system. That thing was a total hunk of crap. And I've got a Sony Vaio that's got an AMD Athlon XP in it. That system's okay, but it tends to run hot, like those did. It runs real hot, actually. So, I really only have a limited opinion of AMD stuff. And Intel, there's been some Intel systems I've had that were total junk, too. I remember the Celeron D system that I was forced to use at a former place of work. Oh my god, that thing was terrible. Didn't work half the time. In fact, it was probably the least reliable computer in the entire building. It just didn't work. I don't know what was wrong with it. It could have been motherboard or RAM or whatever. But it didn't work and passed every test I could throw at it. So, I don't know what I could say. I don't know what to say about that. Just that it didn't work. But really, my experience is not with newer crap. It's with older crap. So, that might skew it a little bit. But my opinion really is that it depends mostly upon what you, the builder or the buyer, is actually comfortable with. You can never take advice from somebody from Walmart or somebody at Worst Buy or even somebody on the internet about what is best, because what is best varies from person to person. You know, I could recommend this, and this, and somebody else could recommend this, and this, and hey, maybe even both systems are not good for what you want. So I guess in short, it depends. That's it. And I need a drink because I'm talking too much. What computer do you stream on? Well, there are several. The main stream used to be done with a custom Pentium D. It is now done with a Dell Dimension 5150. I have done broadcasts on a compact Presario A900. That's usually just the secondary, but I remember doing a show outdoors with that. I've got a Lenovo ThinkPad T500 that I use on the road. I have done broadcasts from an iPod Touch, and I've also got the ThinkPad T400 that I recently got configured for broadcasting as well, but I have never done a show with the T400 yet. Oh, here's a good one. What computer purchase do you regret the most? Well, I do sort of regret spending $110 on a Toshiba Tecra 8200 on eBay recently. That was a Pentium 3 850, but I have to say the performance I'm getting out of that system is not too bad, and it came with quite a few accessories that I can use with other systems, so I don't really regret that much. But I wish maybe it was a little bit cheaper. What really killed me was the shipping on that one, because it came from California. Yes, I got something shipped all the way from California to here because I wanted it. And it was that one that I was going to get. Because they had two on eBay, and that was the only one that was in working condition. I should get an ST to sponsor this particular episode on this channel, because they're definitely probably going to show up quite a bit. But the computer purchase I regret the most was probably the $550 that was spent on a Toshiba Satellite L300D040 back in 2008. That thing was a total piece of crap. I don't think I need to say any more. It never worked right, and it was always in for repair. I actually used, for the majority of the time I had that laptop, I used a PowerBook G4 as my main computer, because that's all I had at the time, because the prior netbook that the L300D replaced had died. And that's why I got the L300D in the first place. But that thing never worked. It was decently spec'd. I mean, it was a 2 gigahertz CPU. That was a lot back then. 2 gigs of RAM was fine. But it was a Windows Vista machine, and we all know that Vista sucks. But it really sucked on that machine. I have only had one system that Vista has run satisfactory on, and that was the Pentium D Custom that's down there now. So, I don't know. I really don't think that thing was worth the $550 that I paid for it. Eventually, it succumbed to a motherboard failure after the warranty expired, and that was the end of that. That was in 2012, I believe. No? Yes, that was in 2012 that the motherboard failed. But the warranty would have expired in 2010 after the hard drive failed for a 7th time. So, that was when I got my first Lenovo ThinkPad used, and I haven't looked back since. So, there you go. I really don't think that it was worth the $550 that was spent on it. Here's a real good one. Why is all your stuff so old? Well, be careful what you say, because not all of my stuff is old. I have a fan from 2014 sitting over there. I've got a lot of clocks that were made within the last 5 years. I've got a lot of camera equipment that was made within the last 5 years. So it's not all old, but the simple fact of the matter is, the old stuff works. Where, simply put, the new stuff is either way too expensive, or just frankly doesn't work the same, or at all, for what I want. And the old stuff is cheap. You can find that stuff on eBay for like $50, $60. Even less sometimes. You can find it sitting on the curb for free. People will give that stuff away. And that's why, really, I think that the stuff that I have is old. Although I don't think a lot of it's old. You'll use what you want, and I'll use what I want. That's all I'm going to say on that. Why no 60 frames per second? It takes way too long to edit. However, I'm going to be trying an experiment where I upload the majority of my videos in 60 frames per second. I'm going to be trying that. The next couple of videos that you see will be in 60 frames per second. I'm using this old camera because it was what was convenient. Frankly, if I was given the choice, I'd do all of my stuff in standard definition because it's fast to import, it's fast to edit, and the files are small. After working with high definition video for so long, I'm really starting to run out of space on a 2 terabyte hard drive. That's how ridiculous it is.